In the heart of South Carolina's Lowcountry, the Murdaugh family name once signified power, wealth, and legal dominance. For generations, they held immense sway, with 3 consecutive family members serving as the top prosecutor for a 5-county circuit. Their story was one of an entrenched dynasty, seemingly above the law. But beneath the veneer of respectability, a dark and complex narrative was unfolding, a saga that would ultimately expose a web of alleged deceit, betrayal, and violence, culminating in events that shattered their long-held legacy and captivated a nation. For over a century, the Murdaugh family were legal titans. From 1920 to 2006, the solicitor's office was consistently held by a Murdaugh. This lineage fostered an environment where their influence was deeply woven into the fabric of the community. Alex Murdaugh, a prominent attorney himself, inherited this legacy, embodying the family's perceived invincibility. His life, outwardly, was one of privilege, married to Maggie, with 2 sons, Buster and Paul. This appearance of a perfect, powerful family, however, would soon begin to fracture under the weight of mounting tragedies and accusations. Then came the night of June 7, 2021. The serene Lowcountry landscape was shattered by a horrific discovery at the family's hunting lodge, Moselle. Maggie Murdaugh, aged 52, and her son, Paul Murdaugh, aged 22, were found shot to death. Alex Murdaugh, the patriarch, reported finding their bodies. The initial shock waves resonated far beyond the Murdaugh family, gripping South Carolina and soon the entire nation. It was an unimaginable tragedy for a family that seemed untouchable, setting into motion an investigation that would expose far more than just a double homicide. 2 years before the murders, in February 2019, the Murdaugh name first made national headlines for all the wrong reasons. Paul Murdaugh, Alex's youngest son, was at the center of a fatal boat crash. Intoxicated, Paul crashed his family's boat, tragically killing 19-year-old Mallory Beach and injuring several others. This incident ripped through the community, not just for the loss of life, but for the allegations that immediately surfaced. It was claimed that Alex Murdaugh attempted to obstruct the investigation, signaling the first public crack in the family's seemingly impenetrable facade. Mallory Beach's family suffered immense grief and loss following the tragic boat crash. Their lives were irrevocably altered by Paul Murdaugh's actions. The accident led to a civil lawsuit filed against Alex and Maggie Murdaugh, seeking accountability for the profound damages and the death of their daughter. This legal battle placed further scrutiny on the Murdaugh family, highlighting concerns about their alleged attempts to shield Paul from the consequences of his actions. It was a tragedy that would echo throughout the ensuing events, contributing to the pressure cooker environment surrounding the Murdaugh name. Years before the boat crash, another shadow lingered over the Murdaugh family. In 2015, the body of Stephen Smith, a 19-year-old nursing student, was found dead on a rural road. The initial ruling was a hit and run, despite the absence of a car or any credible evidence supporting that theory. The Murdaugh name was mentioned in connection with the case at the time, though no charges were ever filed. After the murders of Maggie and Paul in 2021, the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, or SLED, officially reopened the investigation into Stephen Smith's death, hinting at deeper, unexamined connections. In 2018, another death struck close to the Murdaugh family. Gloria Satterfield, who had served as their beloved housekeeper for over 20 years, died from injuries sustained in a trip and fall accident at the Murdaugh home. Her death was tragic, but the circumstances that followed revealed a disturbing pattern of alleged exploitation. Alex Murdaugh reportedly orchestrated a wrongful death settlement on behalf of Satterfield's heirs, promising them justice. However, this settlement, amounting to millions, would never reach its intended recipients, instead disappearing into Murdaugh's private accounts. What unfolded next was a profound betrayal of trust. Alex Murdaugh allegedly funneled the $3.6 million wrongful death settlement intended for Gloria Satterfield's sons directly into accounts he controlled. His own sons, Buster and Paul, were completely unaware of this scheme, having no knowledge that the money meant for Satterfield's family had been diverted. This act was not an isolated incident but a chilling precursor to a broader pattern of alleged financial malfeasance that would eventually come to light, revealing the depth of Murdaugh's financial desperation and alleged criminal activities. As the various civil and criminal investigations began to close in, Alex Murdaugh's life spiraled. In September 2021, just 3 months after the murders of Maggie and Paul, a bizarre incident occurred. Alex claimed he was shot on the side of a rural road, surviving with a superficial head wound. He initially reported it as an attempted assassination. However, the story quickly unraveled. Police investigations revealed that Murdaugh had allegedly orchestrated a botched suicide-for-hire plot, intending for his alleged hitman to kill him so his surviving son, Buster, could collect a $10 million life insurance payout. Under questioning, Alex Murdaugh confessed to police that his roadside shooting incident was not an attack, but a desperate and ill-conceived plan to defraud his insurance company. This confession led to his immediate arrest and charges of insurance fraud. This event was a turning point, transforming Murdaugh from a perceived victim into a suspect in a widening array of alleged crimes. It provided law enforcement with a crucial window into his increasingly erratic behavior and deep-seated financial troubles, painting a picture of a man cornered by his own alleged misdeeds. The floodgates then opened, revealing a staggering array of alleged financial crimes. Investigators uncovered over 100 counts of fraud, theft, and money laundering against Alex Murdaugh. These charges stemmed from a pattern of allegedly stealing millions of dollars from his clients, his own law firm, and, most notably, the glorious Satterfield estate. The sheer scale of the alleged financial malfeasance was breathtaking, painting a picture of a man who systematically siphoned funds for years, leaving a trail of ruined lives and broken trusts in his wake. His public image, once unblemished, disintegrated entirely. The depth of Alex Murdaugh's alleged financial ruin became clearer with each new charge. He was facing significant debts and mounting legal pressures from multiple lawsuits, including the civil suit stemming from the fatal boat crash. The alleged theft from the Satterfield estate and other clients was not merely an act of greed, but, as prosecutors would later argue, a desperate attempt to stave off public exposure of his precarious financial state and extensive fraud. The once wealthy attorney was reportedly teetering on the brink of complete financial collapse, a reality he desperately tried to conceal. On July 14, 2022, more than a year after the horrific discovery at Moselle, the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division delivered the most significant development yet. Alex Murdaugh was formally charged with 2 counts of murder for the deaths of his wife, Maggie, and his son, Paul. He maintained his innocence, denying any involvement in the murders. These charges elevated the ongoing saga from a complex web of financial crimes to a chilling capital murder case, focusing the world's attention squarely on the disgraced attorney and the question of who truly killed his family. The highly anticipated murder trial of Alex Murdaugh began in January 2023. It promised to be a dramatic and deeply scrutinized legal battle, drawing global media attention to the small South Carolina town. The prosecution, led by Chief Prosecutor Creighton Waters, aimed to present a compelling case that painted Murdaugh as a calculating killer driven by desperation. Facing them were Murdaugh's high-profile defense attorneys, Dick Harpootlian and Jim Griffin, who were tasked with dismantling the prosecution's narrative and arguing for Murdaugh's innocence against a mountain of circumstantial evidence. A critical piece of evidence emerged early in the trial, a Snapchat video recorded by Paul Murdaugh just minutes before his death. In the video, recorded at the family's dog kennels, Alex Murdaugh's distinctive voice could be clearly heard in the background. This directly contradicted Alex's alibi, where he claimed he was napping at the house and later visiting his ailing mother, nowhere near the kennels where his wife and son were killed. This single video undermined the foundation of his defense, placing him at the murder scene at the precise time he claimed to be elsewhere. Further forensic evidence presented by the prosecution revealed blood spatter on Alex Murdaugh's shirt. While the amount was not indicative of him being the shooter, its presence was significant. This evidence placed him in close proximity to the violent events, further challenging his narrative of being elsewhere when the murders occurred. The defense attempted to explain this away, but the prosecution argued it reinforced the timeline and sequence of events that placed Murdaugh at the scene of the crime, actively participating in or immediately present during the killings of Maggie and Paul. Cell phone data provided a chilling timeline of the victims' last moments. Maggie Murdaugh's phone showed no activity after 9:06 p.m. and was later found 0.75 miles from her body. Paul's phone last showed activity at 8:49 p.m., found near his body. In stark contrast, Alex Murdaugh's phone showed a flurry of activity after 10 p.m., before going silent after he called 911 at 10:07 p.m. This pattern of silence from the victim's phones, juxtaposed with Alex's sudden activity, raised serious questions about his alibi and the events leading up to his 911 call. The prosecution meticulously laid out their theory for Alex Murdaugh's motive, a desperate attempt to prevent his world from collapsing. With over 100 criminal charges looming for financial fraud, theft, and money laundering, and the public exposure of his alleged crimes imminent, Murdaugh faced the complete destruction of his family's reputation and his own freedom. The prosecutors argued that the murders were an act of calculated desperation, a perceived way to garner sympathy, deflect attention, and delay the inevitable reckoning for his vast financial misdeeds. As the trial neared its conclusion, both prosecution and defense presented their closing arguments, each attempting to sway the jury. The prosecution reiterated the overwhelming circumstantial evidence, connecting Murdaugh's financial crimes directly to the motive for the murders. They emphasized the Snapchat video, the phone data, and the blood spatter as undeniable proof. The defense, meanwhile, attempted to cast doubt on the state's case, suggesting alternative theories and criticizing the lack of direct forensic evidence placing a weapon in Murdaugh's hand, clinging to the idea of reasonable doubt. After an emotional and lengthy trial, the jury deliberated. The fate of Alex Murdaugh, and the legacy of his powerful family, hung in the balance. On March 2, 2023, the verdict was delivered. Alex Murdaugh was found guilty on both counts of murder for the deaths of Maggie and Paul Murdaugh. The courtroom was silent, then a collective gasp. The powerful attorney, once an icon in the legal community, was now branded a convicted murderer. It was a stunning conclusion that brought a sense of finality to a case that had dominated headlines for years. In the wake of the guilty verdict, the sentencing phase followed swiftly. Alex Murdaugh received 2 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. The judge's words underscored the gravity of his crimes, bringing a definitive end to his freedom and the Murdaugh family's reign of influence. The legal dynasty that had presided over the Lowcountry for a century crumbled irrevocably. This sentence represented the ultimate consequence for a man who, driven by alleged greed and desperation, took the lives of his wife and son, forever altering the course of his family and the community. For the families of Maggie and Paul Murdaugh, as well as Mallory Beach, Gloria Satterfield, and Stephen Smith, the verdict and sentencing offered a measure of closure. While nothing can truly alleviate their profound losses, the conviction of Alex Murdaugh brought an end to a long and painful quest for justice. The victims, once marginalized or forgotten in the shadow of the Murdaugh name, finally received public acknowledgement and a form of accountability. The case shone a light on systemic issues and demonstrated that even the most powerful individuals can eventually be held responsible for their actions. The Murdaugh family's legacy, once synonymous with power and legal authority, is now irrevocably linked to murder, fraud, and betrayal. The narrative of an untouchable dynasty collapsed under the weight of its own alleged transgressions. The series of events, from the fatal boat crash to the Satterfield settlement and ultimately the double murders, painted a stark picture of a privileged life gone horribly wrong. It serves as a cautionary tale, revealing how even deep-seated influence cannot forever shield individuals from the consequences of their alleged crimes when justice is relentlessly pursued. The Alex Murdaugh case not only shattered a family but profoundly impacted the Lowcountry community. For generations, the Murdaugh name was a force, its influence felt in every corner of the legal system and local politics. The revelations of alleged fraud and murder deeply shook public trust, forcing a reckoning with the systemic power dynamics that allowed such a saga to unfold. While the pain of the victims' families remains, the community now grapples with the aftermath, striving to heal and rebuild trust in its institutions, forever marked by the fall of its most prominent family. Even with the murder conviction, some aspects of the broader Murdaugh saga continue to echo. The renewed investigation into Stephen Smith's death remains ongoing, reminding everyone that the full extent of the Murdaugh family's alleged entanglements might still be uncovered. The complex web of financial crimes is still being processed through the legal system, with implications for many victims. The case has left an indelible mark on legal history, a testament to the fact that truth, however hidden, eventually finds its way to the surface, challenging even the most formidable power structures. To understand the Murdaugh story, one must grasp the deep roots of their power. The family's legal firm was legendary, and their political connections spanned generations. This provided a shield, a perceived immunity that allowed certain behaviors to allegedly go unchecked for years. The sheer influence meant that local law enforcement and political figures were often hesitant to scrutinize their actions too closely. This historical context is crucial to comprehending how Alex Murdaugh's alleged illicit activities could persist for so long before the entire edifice dramatically collapsed under public and legal pressure. Alex Murdaugh himself was a formidable figure in the courtroom, known for his persuasive abilities and charm. As a personal injury attorney, he cultivated an image of a champion for the common person, fighting against powerful interests. This public persona stood in stark contrast to the man who allegedly stole millions from his own clients, exploiting their trust for his personal gain. The duality of his character became a central theme in the criminal proceedings, highlighting the profound hypocrisy that lay at the heart of his downfall and the tragedy that befell his family. The civil lawsuits stemming from the boat crash and Gloria Satterfield's death played a significant role in escalating the pressure on Alex Murdaugh. These legal battles, particularly the threat of public discovery in court, are believed to have contributed to his financial desperation. The Beach family's pursuit of justice for Mallory, and the Satterfield family's quest for their rightful settlement, slowly chipped away at the Murdaugh's defenses, pushing Alex closer to the brink. These civil cases ultimately became catalysts for the unraveling of his alleged criminal empire. The South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, or SLED, played a pivotal role throughout this complex saga. Their unwavering investigation, from the boat crash to the double murders and the subsequent financial crimes, was relentless. It was SLED that uncovered the financial fraud, pieced together the cell phone data, and ultimately brought the murder charges against Alex Murdaugh. Their dedicated work transformed what might have been an unsolved local tragedy into a nationally scrutinized case of justice served, defying the long-standing perception of the Murdaugh family's untouchability. Alex Murdaugh's life was one built on privilege. From prestigious schools to a powerful family firm and a sprawling estate, he lived a life many could only dream of. This backdrop of wealth and influence undoubtedly shaped his perspective, perhaps leading to a belief that consequences applied differently to him. The contrast between this life of opulence and the dark reality of his alleged actions serves as a stark reminder that privilege, however vast, cannot ultimately protect against the truth, especially when that truth involves murder and profound betrayal. The jury in Alex Murdaugh's murder trial bore an immense burden. They listened to weeks of testimony, examined intricate evidence, and grappled with the weight of deciding a man's fate and bringing justice to his slain family. Their decision to find him guilty was not made lightly, reflecting a careful consideration of the circumstantial case presented by the prosecution, which cumulatively painted a compelling picture of guilt. It was a testament to the legal process, demonstrating that even in cases without direct eyewitnesses, justice can be found through diligent investigation and compelling evidence. The Murdaugh case sent shockwaves through South Carolina's legal community. The revelations of a prominent attorney's alleged financial crimes, and ultimately his murder conviction, sparked profound introspection. It forced a critical examination of attorney oversight, client trust accounts, and the potential for abuse of power within the legal system. The case has already led to discussions and potential reforms aimed at strengthening safeguards and restoring public confidence in the integrity of the legal profession, ensuring that such egregious betrayals of trust are less likely to occur in the future. The Murdaugh's Moselle property, once a symbol of their wealth and influence, became the infamous stage for the murders. This vast hunting lodge, a private sanctuary, now holds a dark history. The kennels, where Paul's Snapchat video was taken and where the bodies were discovered, became a focal point of the investigation and the trial. The very ground that represented the family's idyllic life now serves as a grim reminder of the violence and tragedy that unfolded there, forever etched into the landscape of the Lowcountry and the nation's memory. Throughout the entire saga, a consistent thread was Alex Murdaugh's alleged deception. From the reported obstruction in the boat crash investigation to the stolen Satterfield settlement, the staged suicide attempt, and his initial alibi for the murders, a pattern of calculated lies emerged. The prosecution meticulously built their case on exposing this long history of deceit, arguing that it culminated in the ultimate act of betrayal against his own family. His ability to manipulate and mislead was a core element of the personality unmasked during the trial. The Alex Murdaugh case captivated the public imagination not just for its shocking details, but for the profound narrative it presented, the fall of a powerful dynasty. It exposed the vulnerabilities of a justice system when confronted by deep-seated influence and privilege, but also showcased its resilience. The story, told through countless news reports, documentaries, and podcasts, became a modern cautionary tale, resonating with a universal fascination for crime, power, and the eventual reckoning that, against all odds, can bring even the most entrenched figures to account. As Alex Murdaugh serves his life sentences, the reverberations of his crimes continue. The legal battles over his remaining assets, the ongoing Stephen Smith investigation, and the healing process for the countless victims and a traumatized community will continue for years. The Murdaugh case stands as a stark reminder of the corrosive nature of unchecked power and alleged corruption, and the enduring strength required to dismantle it. While a chapter has closed with the murder conviction, the full impact of the Murdaugh saga will undoubtedly shape the Lowcountry and the broader legal landscape for generations to come. The Murdaugh family's century-long reign in the Lowcountry has definitively ended. What began as a story of privilege and power concluded as a tragic narrative of alleged murder, fraud, and the dismantling of a dynasty. The quest for justice, arduous and lengthy, ultimately prevailed, offering solace to the many victims caught in the web of Alex Murdaugh's alleged crimes. This complex and harrowing tale serves as a powerful reminder that accountability, no matter how long it takes, can ultimately reach even the most seemingly untouchable figures, bringing an era to a definitive and somber close.